Walter often dreams of something impossible, snow falling on San Francisco. It is a recurring, strangely beautiful fantasy, returning every few months without warning. Though San Francisco is his real home now, the city in the dream is transformed, softened, romanticized, made magical by impossible snow. These dreams aren't always cold or harsh. In fact, most feel filmic and artificial, like something shot on a soundstage. Giant flakes fall over the city's neighborhoods. The Sunset, the Mission, the Castro, and the Haight, covering architecture and nature alike in a kind of aesthetic equalization. Victorian houses, cypress trees, birds of paradise, and artichoke blooms are blanketed gently, delicately. In one dream, hoarfrost sweeps in from Ocean Beach, coating Chinatown's pagodas and lions in icy filigree. The city is rendered in glass, fragile and ephemeral. Occasionally, the dreams take on a more severe character. In one rare version, San Francisco experiences a full-blown snowstorm, complete with frozen cable car tracks and buried sedans. But this too is whimsical, at least at first. People sled on serving trays, have snowball fights in Union Square, and skate over the frozen Embarcadero fountain. Yet even here, dream becomes nightmare. Figures freeze mid-step, and slush drowns others, the jubilation around them continuing in manic oblivion. Walter never really missed the winter, at least not in waking life, but the dream's intensity, the nostalgia, the quiet beauty, the eerie surrealism, puzzles him. Only once does he recognize the origin of the dream. In the dream, he walks through a cloud forest in the city's botanical garden, where fog and moss make everything ethereal. Snowflakes peel from the mist, and a peacock struts before him. Walter recognizes it, the peacock from Fellini's Amarcord, filmed in a fluke snowstorm in an Italian square. He had watched the movie the night before, and its dreamy score infiltrated his sleep. When he wakes, Walter doesn't feel the usual disorientation of his snowy dreams. Instead, he's filled with technical awe. How did Fellini capture that moment on film? In waking life, Walter's life is far messier, less dreamlike. At the time of this memory, he's in San Francisco, in Elliot's bedroom, naked and towel drying, after a post-shower romp. Elliot, his former college flame, confronts him. "You didn't follow me here?" Walter is surprised. Elliot means San Francisco, not just the hallway. "No, of course not." Walter laughs. Walter has just moved to the city, recently out of college, and trying to find his footing. He'd been inspired by Elliot's stories when Elliot visited Oberlin the year before, how he described San Francisco as a place of freedom and queer ease. Walter swears that's all it was, inspiration. He didn't move for Elliot. But now, standing nearly naked in Elliot's sun-drenched room, those denials ring hollow. Elliot is aloof, almost irritated. He's getting ready to meet a man named Richard, and makes it clear to Walter. Whatever is happening between them, it doesn't mean anything. "We're not lovers," he says, even as they're still sticky from their recent intimacy. Walter insists he knows that. "We're friends, for fuck's sake," he says, trying to sound casual, composed. But of course, it isn't that simple. For Walter, Elliot was his first love. Not just a fling. They met 2 years earlier at Oberlin, when Walter was 19 and newly out. Elliot, a senior, was everything Walter admired. Confident, outspoken, a leader in the LGBTQ+ community. He was the kind of guy who could talk politics and poetry in the same breath. He was a vegan who lived in Harkness, the dorm known for its co-op meals, co-ed showers, and free love vibe. He edited the student literary magazine. Walter was starstruck. They first hooked up after a party at Ezekiel House, where Elliot praised Walter's poetry, a sonnet accepted by the school journal. Walter corrected him. "I'm a sophomore. We were in a lecture together last spring." But it didn't matter. That night, Walter followed Elliot to his dorm, and a loose, undefined romance began. Depending on how you counted, it lasted either months, weeks, or just a few days. It was marked by the usual ambivalence of college hookups, amplified by Walter's inexperience and Elliot's self-assurance. Elliot had been Walter's sexual mentor of sorts. He taught Walter words like enjambment and fuck buddy, while Walter taught him things like MacGuffin and hornswoggle. It was that kind of relationship. half intellectual, half hormonal, always lopsided in emotional investment. Now in San Francisco, their dynamic hasn't changed much. Elliot still lives like a college student, in a bedroom that mimics his old dorm. Futon, batik wall hangings, posters of Soft Cell and the Indigo Girls, bong on the dresser, strings of lazy Christmas lights. The smell of sage and weed fills the air. Elliot still exudes charisma, still controls the tempo of their interactions, still talks too freely about his other lovers, like Richard, the postdoc from Stanford, whose courtship he narrates to Walter in gory, gloating detail. Walter hasn't made new friends yet. Elliot is the only person he knows in the city. Naturally, when Walter arrived, he called Elliot. They met up on his birthday. He turned 22 that day. And Elliot, typically blunt, declared they should go home and have sex. Just like that, they rekindled something, though it wasn't really a romance. More like a one-sided, emotionally entangled version of Friends with Benefits. But Walter knows he's playing it wrong. Friends with Benefits is supposed to be breezy, emotionally detached, orgasmic without strings. With Elliot, it's anything but. There's too much history, too much ambiguity, too many unspoken things. Elliot, for his part, makes it painfully clear that Walter is not part of his future plans. When he says, "You gave me a look," referring to the moment after Walter climaxed, Walter denies it. But he knows. Of course he knows. He can't help what his face gives away. The scene ends with Walter lingering too long, shirtless on Elliot's futon, being nudged to leave. Elliot has plans. Richard is coming over. He wants Walter gone. "We're friends," Elliot repeats, insisting on the boundary. And Walter nods, agreeing out loud while inwardly sighing. Why had he put up with Elliot for so long? Was it just loneliness? The faint glimmer of love? Or habit? Walter reflects on Elliot's strange charm. Elliot, for all his flaws, has magnetism. He's one of those gay men who thrives on a kind of bitchy charisma. Sharp, funny, always just on the edge of cruelty. He works at a juice bar in the Castro called Banana Hammock, where he meets new men constantly. His goal is obvious: to collect friends, lovers, and admirers in a steady stream. Walter is just one of many. Yet Elliot seems to enjoy using him as a confidant, as if Walter has no feelings of his own. In one particularly agonizing moment, Elliot waxes about Richard's appeal: older, bald, intellectual. Walter listens, trying not to react, knowing full well he's no longer in Elliot's orbit. Not emotionally, not romantically, not even as a priority. He's just a placeholder. Someone to talk to in between hookups. Someone safe. Yet, he can't seem to leave. There's a gravity Elliot exerts, and Walter, unsure of his place in the city, unsure of himself, keeps getting pulled in. San Francisco may be beautiful and liberating, just as Elliot once promised. But for Walter, it's also lonely and disorienting. The snow of his dreams, soft and comforting, seems more welcoming than the burning sun of Elliot's dismissal. In the end, Walter finds himself in a familiar bind, caught between memory and desire, friendship and love, nostalgia and reality. His dreams offer him something Elliot cannot: a version of the city that is gentle, poetic, and generous. His waking life, however, is full of static and longing, of men like Elliot who say one thing and mean another. In that tension between what he dreams and what he lives, Walter must begin to find his own footing.